everybody, welcome back to Cottoverdi. My name's Annette and today I thought I would do a Snapdragon tour or Antirrhinum. That is their botanical name, and I have got loads of different varieties. So I've picked I think 15 different varieties and I've arranged them all in little vases, and I'm going to go through each one and compare them. But what I thought I'd do first is take you around the garden and show you how they look in the garden. So I think this is quite a colourful angle. Now the Snapdragons that we can see here are a watermelon variety, Madam Butterfly watermelon, and this is a dahlia called Kelsey Annie Joy that I think brings out the nice warm tone of the watermelon. This dahlia at the front here is Wizard of Oz. You can see that it's just starting to bloom, and I think that that brings out the pink. And then of course we've got the bird's eye or gilia and the schizanthus here that are sort of, it's a nice contrast with the watermelon colour to have a little bit of purple and orange. I always think looks really pretty. So I've also got some Lychnis or Rose Campion and some Malope up there. That's Malope Vulcan. And then this dahlia just off to the left here, this one is Offshore Dream. So I think these colours just all sort of pop together and tie in quite nicely, and each one is contributing to making the other one look quite cute. So over here, ignore all the weeds in the background, but this Snapdragon here is called Bridal Pink, and this was one of the first ones to flower because it was one of the first ones that I planted in the garden, and it's a really lovely two-tone pink. I've got it planted next to my roses. So this rose here where Cosmo is sitting is Claire Austin. The one closer on this trellis over here that doesn't have any flowers at the moment is the Generous Gardener, and I think the pink really brings out the lovely tones of those climbing roses. The dahlia that we can see in the background there is Pink Runner, and then there's a white one just popping up through the back, and that one is called Karma Martin Zwan. So here we can see close up the lovely white and pink two-tone of Bridal Pink, and I think that these dahlias sort of really complement that colour scheme. I wish I had some roses on this rose at the moment, but it's just coming into its second flush, and I've got loads of buds popping up that will be ready very soon. I have a feeling that Bridal Pink may be over quite soon. Now I've left a lot of these on so that I could film today, but you can see that there's quite a bit that needs deadheading, and then what happens when you deadhead is you get a second flush where these side stems come through. I'm going to walk down here now, and I've got 2 or 3 different types of Snapdragons down here. The bright orange one that we can see is some more of the watermelon variety. Let's go and take a look at what I've planted those with. So at the front here we've got watermelon. You can see that there are loads more to come. So this one hasn't flushed out quite as much, but I've got it with an allium called Spherocephalon, or the drumstick allium. And then just popping through here is a Snapdragon called Apple Blossom. And then directly behind that, I've got Strawberry Cream Dahlia. This dahlia at the front that's not flowered yet, I think is Breakout. So that will hopefully look really pretty in the very near future. And of course, we've got the blue woodruff over here, which is just adding that little bit of contrast to everything else in this border. Here we can see the bees enjoying the allium, but look at the lovely colour contrast with the watermelon Snapdragon. It's just sort of hugging the allium heads there. And over here I've got a Verbena bonariensis. I just let my Verbena self-seed everywhere, and that's also a really lovely contrast. It just makes each flower pop a little bit to have some contrast like that. So here we can see the Apple Blossom with the Strawberry Cream and the allium Spherocephalon, and there's a little Malope popping through there. That's Malope Vulcan, and I think all these colours just look really pretty together. I mean, Apple Blossom is exactly what you'd expect it to be. It's just a really pretty soft pink colour, and I really do think that it just adds a paler tone to the quite rich Strawberry Cream Dahlia and that allium Spherocephalon. So down this end I've got the watermelon planted with some delphiniums, and again that's just a really lovely purple contrast. This is the Auric that I couldn't remember the name of the other day, and right in front of this watermelon Snapdragon is the Scabiosa Fama White. So I've definitely in this border got a very sort of purple apricot-y white thing going. This again is another dahlia of the Strawberry Cream. I've got a few in this bed here. So this looks a little bit messy because I've got a big gap in the middle here where I had some Sweet Williams. I've cut them back and they may flush again, I don't know. But I wanted to show you that this is the watermelon Snapdragon, Madame Butterfly watermelon, and this one here is called Legend Light Pink. And I think Legend Light Pink looks so good with the Allium sphaerocephalon, but also with that auric that's self-seeded there in the background. And then just behind it is a Nicotiana. It's a lovely white one with pointy heads and incredible fragrance. So this Snapdragon looks like it's really short, but actually these ones at the front here have just fallen over. I let my Snapdragons do that a bit. I don't tend to prop them all up. I possibly should have done because I'm a bit disappointed, but it kind of fills in the gap where the Sweet Williams were. So I don't mind it too much, but it's flowering really well. I've got absolutely loads and loads of flower heads there. I really love this particular Snapdragon because it's a lovely cool mauve colour, so it's not a warm pink. It just, I think it brings something special that maybe the warmer pinks don't. So it's really nice to put with all the purples, and I think it looks really good with green. I think that looks incredibly pretty with the cosmos behind it. It's a lovely colour combination. So down here where Cosmo's hiding, next to this lovely 9-bark here, this is Physocarpus Lady in Red, but this Snapdragon over here, next to my drooping dahlia from all the rain, I think it looks really good with the catalpa and the 9-bark. This one is called Black Prince. I looked it up because this isn't one that I sowed this year. This is a Snapdragon that I didn't take out after it had finished flowering last year. So I sowed these Snapdragons in 2022 and I didn't sow Black Prince this year. So I'm really glad actually that it has made it through the winter. And in fact, I think I've got some little self-seeded ones here. So what's not showing up on this footage, certainly not on the screen of my camera at the moment, is that this is a really deep, beautiful dark red velvet colour. So more like the colour on this particular one. Where are we? Find my finger. So it's more like this colour here, this one here, than this one here. So it's just not as bright red as the ones in the foreground. And it really does go so nicely with Natalie G, which has fallen over here. But you can see Natalie G up at the top here. And this is Double Click Cranberries, Cosmos called Double Click Cranberries. And I think they look really pretty together. I'm definitely going to sow Black Prince again for next year because actually I really love this colour. It's such a beautiful, beautiful colour, and it's really nice to have the dark foliage. So this is sort of green with maybe purple edges to it. So over here in this bed, it's really hard to see because I've actually picked the only ones that were flowering at the time. But here I have got Potomac Lavender Snapdragon, and that is this one here. So there is one tiny bud that's open just there, and there are a couple at the front here that are a little bit shorter. So Potomac Lavender is a really, really soft lavender colour. It's more mauve than anything else, I think, and I think it goes really nicely with the Nicotiana glutinosa, but it goes really well with all the dahlias that I've got dotted around here. This is Night Silence, this is Fenebaige, I think it's called, this is Jowie Frambo. I've got Senior's Hope over here, More Night Silence, Double Click Rose Bonbon Cosmos, and Great Silence in the background, but I'll do a dahlia tour soon. But I just think that the Potomac Lavender looks really good with these colours. So as we swing around here, at the front here we have got Madame Butterfly Ivory, and this again is another one that has grown back from last year. So I had a whole collection of Madame Butterfly Ivory growing here, and again I really feel like the ones that come back the second year, whilst it's really nice to have them, I don't think I'm going to save space for them in my garden because again it looks a little bit weaker, the leaves are much smaller, the flower heads just aren't as floriferous. It may help if I fed them perhaps, I don't know, but I do think that Madame Butterfly Ivory looks fantastic with this Veronicastrum I've got here. This Veronicastrum is called Cupid. I've also got a swathe of Verbena bonariensis here and some more Nicotiana glutinosa just popping out here in the corner. The dahlias we can see behind are called Maya, and I really do love them. And then this Snapdragon, the Ivory Snapdragon, is just picking up the lovely creamy colour of the hydrangea I've got over here. So just on the left of the pergola here, in this spot, right at the front, I'm going to pop a picture up on the screen because there aren't any flowers open at the moment. This is a Snapdragon called Potomac Red. You can see that I've still got a few spikes, it's definitely coming, but I've picked the ones that were in flower so that I could have them in the vase. So as I said, I'm going to put a picture up on the screen to show you what it looked like before I picked it. But I think it looks really pretty here with the Annabelle in the background. I've got a Cotinus over here and the red looked really good with that. I've left my allium seed heads because I think they add something to this grass border. This particular white one here is Potomac Ivory, and I've got it planted with a dahlia called Feline Yvonne. This is a lovely orangey status. I've got some more of the Nicotiana glutinosa. Look how tall it's getting. And the white that we can see behind this Potomac Ivory is actually a self-seeded Clarkia from last year. And it's come back beautifully, and I think it's just adding something really wonderful. So as we move down the border here, we can see two more Snapdragons. Now both of these are called Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze. They are very, very similar to watermelon, and I'll show you more of that when we compare the vases. Right in the centre here is a Clarkia called Enchantress, and I think it looks really good with Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze. This is a dahlia called Richard's Fortune, and there's a white Melope dotted around. I've got another one over here, and this really tall thing here is another white Nicotiana. And then as we come along here and move a little bit more, right in front of the Elaeagnus Quicksilver, this dahlia here on the right hand side is Karma Martin Zwan again. I have just discovered this morning my first bloom from Potomac Apple Blossom. So I'm going to cut that, but I want to show you how it looks in the border this morning. So here we've got Karma Martin Zwan at the front. This is a Melope called Vulcan, and then right at the front I've got a lovely Clarkia called Apple Blossom, which has got very similar colouring. So I'm going to pick this one stem that I've got so that we can do a compare and contrast. But what I would say about Potomac Apple Blossom, like all the Potomacs, is that it's really tall, which is fantastic, and that's what we want, which is why we sow every year, and it's not worth keeping them from one year to the next because they're just not as tall, I don't find. As we move along the border here, we come to my favourite Snapdragon. The one that I think just adds something really special, and this one is called Costa Silva. So here we've got Bumble Rumble, a lovely dahlia, some more Apple Blossom Clarkia just tipping over the edge there, and then this lovely pale pink Snapdragon is called Costa Silva. So again, with this area of the border, we can see that I don't stake my Snapdragons. I probably should. Like, it would look better if these were all tall rather than just languishing over the lawn like that. But I quite like the messy look. I like the more relaxed look to these. So here we've got a dahlia called Karma Prospero. This is the Apple Blossom Clarkia. This lovely pink larkspur here in the front is called Salmon. And then the purple dahlia is called Melissa Anna Mariiki. This is Wizard of Oz, which I think goes so nicely with Costa Silva. It's almost a perfect colour match. And then the roses, this one is the Generous Gardener that we can see just dangling over the edge there. So this dahlia in the background here is called Senior's Hope. It's going over slightly, so there's a little bit more orange than there would normally be. This to me is an almost perfect cottage garden border. It's just got a beautiful soft palette, a splash of colour, some gentle soft tones. I really, really like it. This makes me so happy every time I come around the corner here. So as we move down to the bottom border, here I've got two Snapdragons. So the first one, the really bright one we can see, is called Potomac Royal, and it is the most spectacular fuchsia colour. It really is a lovely velvety purple. And then the little one we can see over here that blends really nicely with Maya is called Double Shot Apple Blossom, and it's a dwarf variety, so it's not going to get tall. So this is the Double Shot Apple Blossom with Maya. This is Potomac Royal. This is a dahlia called Pink Perception. It's just starting to flower. I've got another one here. And this is all underneath my apple tree. I think it looks really cute. So this is Double Shot Apple Blossom with a dahlia called Maya. And Maya isn't always quite so yellow. You know, you get some pink tones to Maya with purple hues. And then this is the brightness of Potomac Royal. In fact, it's not nearly as warm as that. It's a much deeper fuchsia colour. Let me see if I can adjust the settings. it's a little bit more like that. It really, really is beautiful. If you want a fuchsia coloured Snapdragon, then this is definitely the one. So again, at the bottom of the garden here, we can see more of the Costa Silva. It's such a pretty, soft, gentle colour. So I've got it planted underneath the Cercis, which isn't doing particularly well. And to the right here, I've got absolutely loads of Nicotiana. This one's called Crimson Bedder. And I think the pale pink and the red of the Crimson Bedder look really good together. So here we can see Costa Silva with a larkspur called Carmine King. This is a lovely gypsophila called Rosenschler, I think. And the dark foliage we can see over here on the right hand side is a rose called Souvenir. So in the background here, we've got an Achillea or yarrow called the Pearl. It's got lovely button-like white flowers. I think that also looks really pretty with Costa Silva. As we come round, here next to this 9-bark, we've got a lovely rose. This one is called Julia's Rose, and next to it we've got Potomac Dark Orange, which is this lovely two-tone Snapdragon, and I just think it looks really pretty. You can see all my sweet peas in the background up there. So this dahlia near Potomac Dark Orange is called Late, L-A-T-E. I think you say Late. Over here on the left hand side is a dahlia called Rosemary Dawn, and I think that looks really good with these Snapdragons. And then you can see that there's an Astrantia here that's just popping through, and it's such a nice contrast. So it's sort of a deep red colour, and this Astrantia is called Venice. So this is the Astrantia, and I think it really complements the colour scheme here. I love this sort of chartreuse, very yellow colour of the 9-bark. So at the back, in the background there, we've got a dahlia. This mauvey dahlia is called Megan Dean, and I think it picks up the lovely tones, the two tones on Potomac Dark Orange, where it's got this lovely sort of pinky colour. And then the Nicotiana we can see here is Nicotiana Crimson Bedder. And there are, if I pan out a little bit, we can just see over on the left that there are some agrostemma or corncockle. So here at the front, this Snapdragon is called Double Shot Peach. So it's like the Double Shot Apple Blossom. It's a dwarf variety, and you can see how short it is compared to the Nicotiana Crimson Bedder. And then this is a dahlia on the left called Alicia. I'm not sure how I feel about this Double Shot Peach, because it really does have some quite bright yellow colours in it. And I don't know if they're going to show up just as brightly on the screen. So the yellow right in the centre here, the yellows are even brighter than that. So I don't mind actually that it's quite bright yellow, because it's got these sort of peachy tones. So it kind of mixes in really well, and I do think it looks really nice with the reds. So I think that's a really nice combination. And in fact, it's very similar hues to Happet Champagne, which I've got over here, except that Happet Champagne's possibly more peachy. So here in front of this obelisk, right at the front here, I've got another dwarf variety. This one's called Mini Butterfly Blush, and unfortunately I don't have any in flower yet, so I can't do a comparison and pick any to put in the vase, but they are budding up. They're just not in flower yet. I've planted them, this blush one. I'll put a picture up on the screen of what it should look like. I've planted it right in front of a penstemon called Arabesque Apple Blossom. And then this is the last area that I want to show you before we move on to the comparison. So this again is Potomac Dark Orange, this Snapdragon at the front here. And I've got it planted next to a dahlia called Cornell Bronze. And this is a Sanguisorba called Lilac Squirrel, which is new to me this year, and I am in raptures about this gorgeous plant. You can see an Annabelle hydrangea at the back there. I think this colour combination is also spectacular. So just before we finish here, in amongst the Stipa tenuissima, we've got Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze, and one of the first dahlias over on this shadier side of the grass border is Wine-Eyed Jill. Oh, and the Clark here in the background, just behind Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze, is called May Blossom. Okay, Okay, so now we've done a tour of the garden, I wanted to do a close-up compare and contrast so that we can all have a look. I am very interested in this process, and I do this with a lot of my dahlias because I'm very interested, like, to narrow down my choices, I suppose, but also just to see the differences. And it's really hard to like plan my planting schemes if I don't know exactly what the differences are. So this is the first time I've ever done this with Snapdragons, and I'm super excited. Now, I sowed 18 varieties and I've picked 16 varieties today. There's one that I found in the garden that hasn't flowered, which is the mini butterfly blush. So I've got 17 varieties in the garden. Not every Snapdragon was successful or has flowered yet. This is what we've got today. We've got 16 varieties. So I sowed mine. I'm going to look at my notes here. I sowed all of my Snapdragons on the 2nd of February this year, and I've taken really good notes this year of exactly what happened when. So all the Potomacs and the Costas were up by the 6th of February, so within 4 days they'd all germinated, and some of the Legends were up too. That's what I've written. And then everything had germinated within 5 days, so I had germination across the board in 5 days. If you want to know how I sow my Snapdragons, I've made a video about that in the past. I'll put a link in my description below if you want to take a look at that. But the first ones I planted out were the Bridal Pink, and I planted those out on the 30th of April. So I sowed them on the 2nd of February and planted them out on the 30th of April. So about 3 months later, I planted them out, and I planted those ones out in particular because they were the tallest and most robust at the time. So everything else, all my other Snapdragons were planted out at the same time as my dahlias, either on or after the 25th of May. So I'd say within a week to 10 days of the 25th of May, I'd planted everything in the ground. And today is the 26th of July, I think. So 2 months later, I've got flowering across the board apart from on the mini butterfly blush. So some are only just flowering, like the Potomac Lavender and the Potomac Ivory. They're only just starting to bloom. And I think Potomac Red also, I only had 2 blooms on Potomac Red, didn't I? And I've picked both of those. So I think it would just be really fun to go through and compare them. I'm going to start with the darker coloured Snapdragons. I keep wanting to call them dahlias. If I say dahlias in this video, it's because I'm obsessed, but also it's just a slip of the tongue. I am talking about Snapdragons today. So let's start with the darker ones. So the darker ones that I've grown this year, and this is by no means a comprehensive list of all the Snapdragons you can get. There were plenty more. So the ones that I've grown this year are Potomac Red and Potomac Royal, and then I've got one from my 2022 sowing called Black Prince, and the difference with the Black Prince is that it's got dark leaves. So this is Potomac Red. It's a perfect rich red velvet colour. It really is a lovely red. It's got hints of mauve on the underside of the petals. So there's like a little purpley hue to it. Ignore the fact that some of them are bent over. So Snapdragons, in case you don't know, Snapdragons are phototrophic and geotropic. So they will lean towards the light, but also be dragged down by gravity. So that's why they do this. So if they fall over in the beds, they will start to bend upwards. So this one was obviously fallen over in the bed and it started to bend upwards. Also, if we don't have them completely upright in a vase, when we're putting them in the vase, they'll lean out and then bend upwards overnight. So you'll come back down the next morning and it'll have this kink in it. But actually the kink's quite handy. You know, if you've got a big arrangement and you want something to poke out the side, it's really handy to have a kink. Now I really want it to focus on the Snapdragon and not on my face, so I'm going to plant it in front of my face so that we can see what this Snapdragon looks like. So this is Potomac Red, and I'm going to bring Potomac Royal up against it so that we can see the difference. Now Potomac Royal is more of a fuchsia colour, so this is Potomac Royal, the one I'm moving around here, and in fact, it's really not showing up quite how fuchsia it is. There, that's a bit better. So it is more fuchsia than Potomac Red. Potomac Red is definitely a deep red velvet colour, and this is Potomac Royal, and I guess it's named after maybe Royal Purple. It's a bit lighter than Royal Purple. I would definitely describe this as a fuchsia colour, and the undersides of all the petals on Snapdragons are going to be a slightly lighter colour, so you do get this sort of two-tone effect. Now again, what I really want everybody to realise is that I have picked what I consider to be the best blooms. So I haven't picked them where we'd normally pick them with just a few flowers open. I've picked them the best that I could in my garden. It's just a garden, I'm not a flower farmer. So I've picked them where they're looking floriferous, which is not, and you know, some of them I've taken the buds that have gone over, I've taken those off the bottom. So don't focus on how tall they are in these vases, or necessarily, you know, how many flowers are open, because I've just picked what was available in the garden. So what I realized was that some of the Snapdragons, like the Bridal Pink, were going over because those went out at least a month earlier than the others. And so I wanted to be able to catch as many in flower as possible in order to do this video. There's no magic potion where I can get them to all flower at exactly the same time. So some may look a little bit ropier than others, but anyway. This is the difference between Potomac Red and Potomac Royal. And I think sometimes it's really easy when we're looking on the screens and we're ordering our Snapdragons to sit there and just wonder what on earth the difference is. And it's not always immediately apparent. So I think it's really nice to be able to do this comparison. Now the other one that I've got that's a really dark colour is this one, which is called Black Prince. I couldn't remember for a minute. So this is Black Prince, and these are the best ones available because these, the ones that have been in the garden over the winter, like from my 2022 sowing, which is this one, they started flowering way earlier. So these are in fact the second stems. These are not the really tall first stems that came, because those I've deadheaded already. So these are the smaller, shorter second stems. So ignore the fact that they look a lot smaller than these, because I don't think it's a true reflection. I also think that in the second year that they're maybe not as strong or as floriferous as they were in the first year, which is why I think it's always good to sow our Snapdragons for the best displays, to sow them each year, even though they will come through the winter for us here in the UK. So this is dark Black Prince. This is Black Prince, and this is Potomac Red. Now, Potomac Red is a warmer colour, I would say. There's a little bit more orange in it, and Black Prince is definitely darker than that. And the other thing about Black Prince, I think I've mentioned this before, is that it's got dark foliage and it's got these dark stems to it. So if you do want that splash of dark colour, then Black Prince is a really nice one to have. And there's nothing wrong with this one, and there's no reason why I didn't sow it this year. Perhaps I just didn't have seed for it left over, or perhaps I just had to narrow it down. I try to sow all of my seeds into these trays of 4. I tried to sow all my seeds into groups of 4, so maybe I just didn't have the room to sow this one. But it is really nice, and I will definitely grow this one again. And I don't know which one I prefer. Please, as I said, try not to consider the bloom size, because I think they're both just as beautiful. This is just ropier because it's been flowering for longer than this one. So those are the really dark ones that I have. I'm just going to pop those at the back here. And then I'm going to move on to more sort of lighter shades of mauve, I think. So we're going to start with Potomac Lavender, if I can find that vase here. So this is Potomac Lavender. Now, the best thing about Potomac Lavender is that it's this muted antique shade. It really is a very soft, gentle colour. It's got little hints of yellow in the centre, which I think is really nice. And it really does have a beautiful two-tone effect. We can see the darker lavender colour and then the paler lavender colour on the outside. And obviously as the blooms age, they get paler. So they're going to start off darker and then they'll get paler. I was just down here at the bottom of the garden and I've spotted that I've got one more Snapdragon. This one here, this is Costa Lavender, and it's in amongst all the other Costa Silvers, and I'm going to pick that one just so we can compare it to the Potomac Lavender that I've got. So even though it is really not in flower, I think it's just interesting. So having thought I'd finished, I found another Snapdragon down at the bottom of the garden, and I really wanted to just do a comparison so we can see the difference in the colours. So this is Potomac Lavender, which is the one that I showed you before, and this is Costa Lavender. So it's quite similar, it's not a lot different. I'd say this is a warmer mauve colour. Warmer, it's not really lavender. I mean, lavender's very blue. So but this is the colour that's called lavender. So this is Costa lavender and this is Potomac lavender. I definitely think this is on the cooler side than this. So actually, I've done 17 Snapdragons today. I was really happy to see this one. It's so beautiful. How beautiful is that? Lovely and tall and straight. I mean, the Costa varieties are really beautiful. This is Costa Silver. So this one will look like this, but it'll be this colour. It really is a very lovely, muted, antique-y, gentle shade. And I'm really drawn to those colours. It's just so gorgeous. I feel like I should have planted this nearer my Coco Loco rose because I think, fly on my forehead, I think that would look really nice with Coco Loco. And Wine-Eyed Jill, I think it would go really nicely with Wine-Eyed Jill because Wine-Eyed Jill has got this sort of soft purpley colour but also some nice buttery yellow tones. I'm not sure how I'm going to fit this into all the other footage that I've just finished filming, but that is another lavender Snapdragon and I thought it'd be fun to show you even though it's not properly open yet. So this is Potomac lavender and then I'm going to compare it to this one here, which is definitely one of my favourites and it's on the cooler side, and this one is called Legend Light Pink. I don't think that this is really pink. I would say this is more of a mauvey lavender tone, and you can see with it lined up against lavender, Potomac lavender, that in fact Potomac lavender is a warmer shade. So this is Potomac lavender and this is Legend Light Pink. Now I really like Legend Light Pink in my border. I think it's glorious. I love the fact that it's got the white in it, and I love the fact that it's this really cool mauvey colour as opposed to a warm mauvey colour. So they all have their uses. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but there's definitely plus sides to both. So this is Legend Light Pink. I'm going to pop this one down here because I want to compare it to Costa Silver. So it's easy when we're looking at Costa Silver in the border to wonder whether there's a difference to Legend Light Pink. So this is Legend Light Pink and this is Costa Silver, which is a much warmer pink. Can you see what I mean about the warm and the cool colours? So this is more mauvey and this is Costa Silver. Costa Silver is the gentlest, most baby pink colour. It really is so pretty. I really like the fact that it's not pink all over and it's got these little two-tone effects. Again, we get yellow in the centre of the snap here. It's just a warmer pink, and I do think that this would look really nice for weddings, for baby showers. I think it's beautiful and it goes with so much in the garden. This, in case you haven't guessed, Costa Silver is one of my favourites. I really, really appreciate the beauty of this one. So now we're going to compare Costa Silver to the apple blossoms. Now some of my apple blossoms look a little bit ropey. Some of them are only just starting, as you know, because we just did the tour. So if I find the apple blossom that I picked this morning, so this was Potomac Apple Blossom. So Potomac Apple Blossom has got a very definite two-tone effect where it's got white outer petals and pink on the centre. Now ignore the fact that there aren't very many flowers on this. This is brand new, it hasn't grown, and these are the only flowers that have opened. So please don't focus on the fact that there aren't very many flowers on it. It doesn't mean it's not a good flower. This is really tall and it will have, you know, huge stems of flowers on it. So this is the Costa Silver and this is Apple Blossom. So they're very similar tones, Potomac Apple Blossom, but they're very different flowers. So now we're going to compare the three apple blossoms that I have. Let me move that to the back. So this is Potomac Apple Blossom with the very two-tone effect, and this is just Antirrhinum Majus Apple Blossom. So this is your bog standard Apple Blossom Snapdragon, this one here. And can you see how different the blooms are? So if you're looking for less of, I'd say Potomac Apple Blossom is a very patterned Snapdragon. This is a more painterly Snapdragon, that's the word I'm looking for. This is, I'd say, more artistic. It's just got a more blended palette where the shades blend one into the other. It's probably slightly shorter than Potomac. So I know that this would be grown for cut flowers, but I think that this is really pretty in a garden environment. This one is just straight up apple blossom. Now I'm going to bring my third apple blossom into the mix, and this is the third apple blossom. So this is the dwarf variety and it's called double shot apple blossom. Look at these blooms. So firstly, I think I really appreciate the colour. I love the centre of the blooms where it's got, you know, the orangey peachy tones to it. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. So let's compare this to Major's apple blossom. And there's definitely a difference. These flowers are really open, more like a Madame Butterfly Snapdragon, I would say, whereas these are more of your standard normal Snapdragons that we see every day. So, but just remember that this particular flower is quite short. So this actually, I cut this down to the ground. So it's about, this is as tall as it gets. It's about 30 centimetres. So really good for small posies and absolutely stunning for the front of a border. I think that that's incredible for the front of a border. And then this is the Potomac. So you can see Potomac again doesn't have the really open flowers that we get with the double shot. And Potomac has definitely got a more sort of structured colour palette where it's white on the outside, pink on the inside, whereas these just have that artistic painterly feel where it's very, the colours are very blended. I love this one. I will never not grow this one again. I think it's gorgeous, and you probably saw from the garden tour that it has a very similar colour palette to a dahlia that I love called Maya, which is also not particularly tall, and I really love it because it goes with everything. I don't know if I can hold all three up together, but we've got Potomac in the middle, double shot on the, what is that to you? I don't know, on this side, and Majus on this side. So those are the apple blossoms that I have. Now let's talk about the whites that I've got. So the first one that I've got is Potomac Ivory. So Potomac Ivory again is just your classic very tall creamy white or ivory white Snapdragon. Absolutely beautiful. These have only just started flowering, so these are the best ones that I could pick. So Potomacs are always going to be tall. And then this is from last year, and this is Madame Butterfly Ivory. So exactly the same colour palette, but Madame Butterfly just have these fuller flowers. So each flower on the stem is sort of like a double. It's just much fluffier. Can you see the difference? Let me bring them side by side. So I'm not saying that the stem has more flowers. I'm just saying that each individual floret is fluffier. So it's a very different look. Now Madame Butterfly get almost as tall as Potomac. These aren't, because again these have been flowering for a while. So these are the seconds, these are the side stems that are flowering here, which is why they look a bit shorter, and I really don't want you to sort of compare the sizes, but just compare the flowers and the colours. I think both are beautiful, and there's a place for both in my garden. And now we're going to move on to the warmer shades. And I am in a quandary because I think I've been missold something, and I'll let you be the judge of that. So I've got two that I think look identical. So this is Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze. So again, it's got the fuller florets on each one, and then it's got this gorgeous sort of ombre, you know, pale pink, well not pale pink, it's kind of mid pink actually, a warm pink that fades to sort of the more orangey colour. So I guess that's why it's called bronze. So this is Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze, and then these ones here that I was so excited about are Madame Butterfly Watermelon. Now ignore the fact that this one is on a slant and possibly has more flowers on the stems than this one. But this one's been flowering for longer, so this is fresher possibly. In fact, this one here has got less flowers on it, so more akin to that one there. I don't see a difference between Watermelon and Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze. I think someone has just renamed Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze Watermelon because they preferred the name, and I mean, I've never found watermelon anywhere else. I can't find it anywhere else apart from this one person that I bought it from, this one breeder, or not breeder, seller that I bought it from. And in the picture, in the photo on the website, it definitely looked like it was a different colour. It looked like it was going to be more of this shade all the way through and a lot less of the orange. So I was really excited about it being sort of watermelon colour all the way through, but it's definitely got those orangey colours, exactly the same as Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze. I mean, there's just no difference. I don't see a difference, and I think I've been missold. And I haven't made a mix-up because I've got a couple of these plants. I've got a couple of watermelon and I've got a couple of Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze planted all over the garden, and they're all looking exactly the same. I don't have a problem. Like, I don't dislike watermelon, but I'm not going to buy watermelon specifically when I can get Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze from anybody. So if you find something labelled watermelon, don't get too excited about it because I think it's exactly the same. No difference at all. Moving on from that, let's compare Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze to another warm coloured dahlia. And dahlia, see, I said I'd call them dahlias, Snapdragon. This one is called Potomac Dark Orange. Whoa, look at that. So this is Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze and this is Potomac Dark Orange. So they are similar tones, but Potomac Dark Orange has just got this fiery orange colour. I'm going to put Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze down. And let's take a look at Potomac Dark Orange. So it's got these lovely pinky colours at the top, and then as the flowers open, they've still got pink undersides to them, but the actual centre of the flowers has got this wonderful orangey yellow colour to them. And I do think that these are very special. I love these. I think they're gorgeous. So let's compare these to my last one. I think I've done everything now. I have. So let's compare these to the last warm ones I have, which are these. And these are the dwarf variety double shot peach. So these are much shorter. They're going to be nothing like the tall Potomacs that we get. Potomac are definitely one of the taller, straighter, flowering Snapdragons. Nearly said dahlias again. So this is double shot peach. So double shot peach definitely has the peachy tones as the flowers open. It's really, really pretty. But then as the flowers age, they get this sort of luminous yellow colour to them. In fact, this one around here is even more luminous yellow. So I really wanted to draw your attention to that because I think they're beautiful flowers, but just in case you're hoping the whole flower is going to be this lovely peachy colour, which is often shown in the photos, you do have to allow for the fact that they're going to be quite yellow as they mature. They again have this really pretty shape. I mean, look at the shape of this Snapdragon. I think they're gorgeous. Let me just compare and contrast the peach. So this is double shot peach, and this is the double shot apple blossom. And I think there's a place for both in the garden. You know, this is great for a warm border, and this is great for your sort of cottagey garden border. And ignore the fact that one's longer than the other. This I think is a little bit shorter because I've got it planted on the shadier side of the border and the dahlias are shading it out a bit. But I knew it was going to be short anyway, so I don't mind how short it is really. That's a comparison of all of the Snapdragons that I've grown this year or that are flowering at the moment in my garden. I really hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful maybe. And if you have any questions, then do let me know in the comments below. I will definitely get back to you. I try to answer all of the comments. And if you found this video fun and interesting, then please do give it a like. It really does help me. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed to my channel because I really, really appreciate all of you. And it really helps me when people hit the subscribe button and watch my videos. If you find them fun, then do hit the subscribe button and follow along as I show you around my English country garden and everything that I'm growing. I am in peak enjoyment mode at the moment because I think the garden is just starting to look incredible, and I cannot wait to start doing my dahlia comparison tours, and those will be happening in the next month, and I'm super excited about those. I'm just waiting for more of the dahlias to start flowering. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.